Hi.
Hey, hi, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Perfect. So this place is actually like for recording purposes because this will help us to take the references and everything.
Okay.
So now, what were you talking about? So you were saying something like, can we go back to the discussion?
Yes. So I was telling you that the document I shared with you right now, in that
Mhm.
I'm making modifications
Can
with
you share me the link
what.
right now?
Yeah, I did. Should I share it again?
Can you share me here, like over this
Okay. Okay.
chat here? Where are you right now?
I'm in my parents' place.
You have a board behind.
No, it's not wood. It's actually window.
Okay, I thought it's a board.
Uh, yeah. Okay. Should I just move little bit?
No, it's okay. No, it has nothing to do with that
Okay.
window.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Uh, did you share it?
Yes.
Okay. But where is I don't see it like oh it's on a private chat. Okay. Okay, let's discuss this document. So tell me one thing, like what's going on with in terms of the research? Like which side are you like researching on right now?
Yeah. So, as I have no background of policy making, laws and regulations, I was searching too much. I was reading too much, and also whatever document you shared with me, like
Mm-hmm.
reference I requested to share with me.
Mm-hmm.
I also am going through each and every reference from that document also,
How would
and that was taking, yeah, that was taking time. So in introduction part and all, this is general talking in
mm-hmm.
the document. So I thought, okay, I can do that now with whatever I have read, and after
Mm-hmm.
that I can go in detail for the evolution of international law, and
Mm-hmm.
that will speed up my work. So now I have started modifying the introduction part from our
Okay.
document. Yeah, and then I will go in detail again for the conceptual evolution of international law, and also the nature of international legal process and other you know subheadings in the document.
So I'm gonna resolve these suggestions right now. I mean, so complex international organization involved in international regulations and policy making like WHO, UNW needs to be more interconnected. I think this idea of need needs to be changed because need could be something that we don't know. Like what is the need means here? Um, here, I'll just outline this.
Okay.
I'm just gonna comment
Okay.
to get
And
this.
also there was comment in the original document that if we should include organization names or we should not.
I think we should be able to do that. Like there is no problem, right? Like I mean,
Yeah, because these are global players and everyone is aware of them. It's not like we are, you know, like
sure, let's do
making
that. Like,
something private thing public. It's not like that. So there might not be any problem.
okay, renaming the. Okay. I'm renaming the this one. So this I'm gonna like write. Perfect, right? So no problem.
Okay.
Like what we could do is we could simply put this space here. Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are a few things like so global discussion is supposed to solve long-term issues. That's for sure. Disturbing peace and freedom. The solution should be. So I think whatever you're writing, what you could do is like you can just keep on writing and iterating on it, and then once we like finalize some sort of a draft, then we can kind of iterate through it. And what happens with this is that it allows us more understanding, like to have like over the period of time also. And what you could do is like in terms of the topic, for an example, the introduction could summarize the failing, um, uh, the the how they failed, and like the promise of technology. And like for an example, I can share you some references right now. Like what you could do is that I've actually started writing something here. um, I saw something here. Okay, so this is some kind of a document, and you can find like some real world references, like the issues that we are sort of talking about. And there are some like addresses. So I'm just gonna put this like here somewhere in the document. Problems that needs addresses.
Also, I had one suggestion or also a doubt or
Uh-huh.
maybe my opinion. We can consider like that. So, whatever we have, mm, mentioned in first paragraph, can we just elaborate it more with example
Sure,
so that
let's
it
do
will be
that.
more
Easy.
understandable for people?
Yes, yes,
Like
let's do that.
from one of our domain spaces also, we can take example like for climate change, what are environmental policies in different countries and like
Yes,
yeah. So
putting the examples basically. Okay, perfect. Let's do that. I mean, actually, so I'll just create. Um, so, do you have any examples like in front of you?
Yeah, right now I can comment on climate change, and there are different policies in terms of environmental laws and regulations in different countries. And even if there are international policies like uh, sustainable goals which are initiated by WHO, this is
Sorry.
implemented. mm, should I wait?
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so like developmental goals, sustainable development goals, which are declared by WHO and all,
Mhm.
these are not implemented everywhere in the world yet.
Right.
And even if these are implemented, these are not effective enough to make significant changes. So that we can mention, and it's current, we can say hot topic, and also so many people are aware of this topic. So if we mention that, it will be easy to grasp for them.
So you're basically talking about research and the example, like examples. But I think the idea of examples and um, like basic examples from the world, like what kind of examples you mean to say? Can you define some examples?
Mm, for plastic pollution, we can mention uh, because even if there are rules that we should not use particular plastic, these people are using them and also throwing in garbage.
So, like, what are the fundamental issues there? Like, why we will do that?
Why?
Yes, like how, like, and I mean, because we have to talk about the idea of like why, like, people do that, like, and what kind of policies were there. So basically, like, give the example, right? So that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So that's what I wanted to understand, like, why, like, in the
yeah,
sense
yeah,
that
yeah.
why, yeah.
This example is coming to my mind immediately. It's not like we should elaborate on this only. There might be
Okay.
different examples. Yeah,
Current issues we can talk about.
yeah.
Perfect. Um, so I'm assigning this. So I'm giving you this task, okay? That
Okay.
you, yeah, that you can research on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be in progress. I think the another thing is that example part is right. So, like people understand from examples, that's correct. But like if it's close to the reality, but sometimes what happens is that we have to build a theory also, right? So theory needs to have
Yes.
like some kind of imaginative because there are sometimes things that we can't find exact, like because for that you have to do like a lot of research, so you
Yeah,
can
like
only do.
abstract you are saying?
Yeah, so basically what happens is that then we are dead under the lock of like, data and statistics. And if we don't find it, then we won't be able to build that, right? So sometimes
Yeah.
we can build a hypothesis and we see it like, like, okay, this is an assumption that we are kind of coming up with. And we can simply say that in the fair world, by some sort of um, probability like method, like which says that we can prove this in the world, through some sort of a systematic program or like a, like in the project, like let's say in the document, we can describe that usually, this is how it happens. And this has been
Yes.
observed and this has been like currently like seen by real world example. Now we can say we don't know, but this is something which we assume that, could be a possibility. And to but like if you have these examples that kind of proliferate, yeah, sure, like why not do that? And the most important thing is that to define these problems like statements clearly and branch them out, like to create like extended ideas itself also.
Yeah, but it will depend on the audience, like for whom we are writing. If we want general people to read it, then we can include examples. If you want to, put a theory, scientific uh, theory, then there is no need of examples. Or we can make two versions, two different versions too of the same document.
So did you read the
For
first document, like the one that I sent you?
since our
Like,
foundation,
yeah, yeah.
yes, yes.
So what do you think about that?
Uh, it's actually explaining really well that why we need all this,
Yeah,
and
but I think
we can
it's in
include
a
so
very.
many points from that topic, from that document.
Can you share me the link of the document? Yeah, again.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Let's do this. No, let's go to that document first because that document will allow you to understand few things also, and would kind of we can create some sort of task also, actionable items from there, and then we come to this because they're connected somehow.
Yes, yes,
Um,
they are connected. Actually, they are
yeah.
connected. So we can use so many points from that document.
Right. So this
Yeah,
part, what do you think about this part? Like, let's move a bit into the idea of introducing new variables here. Like, for an example, the idea of introduction on the top, right? Like that, what is this foundation is going to be? So if we can treat it as more an entity, like a technology based entity, right? So, and like defining the purpose in the front, right? So we should be able to define the purpose of this and foundation essentially. What do you think in the first area. So what have you got so far? Do you have any understanding? Like, let's say if you have to define the purpose, like from the down, so
So, you mean we should introduce Sinsar Foundation in the document at the first part?
yeah, like I mean the introduction part here.
We can do that, but it may actually break the flow of the document.
The introduction in any way like would require, right? Or what do you think? Like, is there any improvement that we can do in this document?
Yes, we can.
Where, which areas? Like, tell me like
Uh,
which areas that needs improvement. Then we can like start with them.
in Sinsar or in our research?
In since our foundation, yeah.
Okay.
The first part, like the first part, like let's go by topic, no? Like, what is the first this since our
Mm-hmm.
foundation topic? What do you think? Should we need to put more
Uh,
research ideas?
yes. Like for what is Sensor Foundation, we can actually elaborate more
Like, can you
because,
suggest some ideas there?
yeah, actually, what we are doing and why we are doing like why now it's there, but why Sensor Foundation is doing that, that can be included in one or two sentences in what is Sensor Foundation itself.
And these sentences are going to be researched or what?
Which sentences?
As you said, no, like adding
Adding
these
the
two.
information.
Yes.
uh,
Do we need researched information or what?
No, we have clear vision. Like for Sincere
Okay.
Foundation, there is clear vision, so there is no need of research on Google. But I may need references for more information about Sincere Foundation.
I think so. On Sinsar Foundation, the idea is that we would want to set up some sort of a experimental organization that basically like tries to figure out the approach of collaborative work. So right now, for an example, you can think of something like, um, sorry. So you can think of something like a collaborative approach, right? So let's say me and you are working somewhere, and what is the approach that allows us to create more productive work, essentially, or allows us to been more collaborative. So one way is key, you are working and I'm working together, and rather than me pushing you, right? Like this is one example that we can like I think like these kind of hypothetical example network based examples can be like given, like that how existing networks or systems, so this requires a bit of system theory related work. So I'll just should I I'll just like so that we can remember this, add system and system theory ideas in the introduction, because this will help us to for both of us to actually put the graphics also. Like for an example, we can depict some graphic, like this is how people communicate, like it's essentially around the communication.
Yeah,
So putting that, so that's the idea, like because we want to experiment with that, right? What happens with that is that how do we best achieve this equilibrium in this age of technology, essentially. So there are people doing that, right? Like for an example, like you have markets where like people directly work with each other. You have markets where people work through a governing system where people, so like corporates are one examples of this kind of work. They have this benevolent dictator on top and he assigns work for, so it's a triangle, right? And
yeah,
he's in the top and he assigns this work, and then the trees get opened up, right? So it's a endless trees that gets recursive,
yeah,
and the recursion is such that it always ends on the top. So the maximum utility, the maximum profitability is on the top, essentially. And what happens is that there are leaks on these nodes. So in that sense, I've added this topic. So essentially, in this area, if we can define this idea that And this is what we're experimenting with. Actually, we're figuring out like how can we like do this collaborative work in a human way. Like, for example, if we are working together, so how do you best come up with your own collaborative ideas and you produce some like work, right? So what if I give you like, why do you not like, for example, what if I give you some work that you don't like, and why you don't like that? And to be able to have that understanding what kind of work needs to be given to someone, right? So this opens up to these kind of questions also, that so there can be subjectivity involved into it, but if you apply these dynamics into economics, right, or into like when somebody makes a decision of buying something, then it can show us a lot of things, like and make us understand like why all of that happens, and why people coordinate. So it's essentially centered around theme of coordination. So I'm making another task also,
Yeah.
uh, get into the idea and use the argument of group coordination, like why people coordinate and in such a way that they work together, and achieve this collaboration essentially. So it will be a nice like a para, like around that. So I added that. Now I think this part is pretty much understood, right? This is what foundation is aspiring to and understand with the experiments. So foundation will essentially undertake these experiments, and these experiments are going to be like real world social examples of businesses and things like this. So this is the example I think we could like proliferate into both of the documents. Like, let's say why agriculture is polluting so much. You know what I mean? Why
Yeah.
economies do not add the environmental cost, and then we can link them with this connection, that this is how the systems are triggered, and when they work in this manner, you kind of like have this exogenous um, impact that is like an internalization of those organizations or the structures, right? So something of that sort. Then one could imagine, rather than simply writing, this is how the corporate is. They don't care about the environment because they do this. So we have to come up with these valid key ideas that give away the um, understanding essentially. So, like, that's the approach here. And I think why now we have described it pretty much, right? So what we can do in why
Yeah.
now is that, if we can detail it around the non-algorithmic patterns, like detailed like example around the non-internet world. Because I think not everything is connected to the internet, and it's more centered around, if you see that it's more centered around algorithm, right? This could be one part of it, but not like, because we know that algorithms are controlling the world, but not everything. Like, there are some policies that also get into shape, and these policies are based on data, right? So that is something also we have to put in mind. So I've created that task also. So we track this from there, and whenever you finish these tasks, now you can just move them to done. Like you can close them also. Okay,
Okay.
by yourself, like by putting some, like I have, like just a reference, like I have put this document in this document, or like a link, and then you can close these tasks. So I think rest of this question is correct. Who's going to bear the cost? I think this question is itself very intuitive, because we're basically drafting and saying that, hey, I think we should simply be objective and say that the cost, the cost is the this punctured society or something like this. What do you think? We should be able to add something there,
No, actually, sometimes we need to be very direct,
right?
and that will impact the, our idea will
Mhm.
impact more effectively.
So you're saying we should be
Because,
able to, we should be direct in
yeah.
the cost part. I think this can be extended in a more scientific approach also, by the way, you know how, because what we can do is we can use some mathematics, like, or something like this, or like some examples in terms of like, if we do not, this expensive kind of like a function, like a cost function can be added there, like the utility on the top that we've described, that that hey, some kind of like a spacing can be done, like that sort of shows that that the cost is like not just economics. I mean, subjective cost is also there, but the like like qualitative cost is also there, and quantitative. So both costs can be added.
Yeah.
So that's one of the thing. And so one more thing, and wait, okay.
Where are you commenting actually, or
Uh,
you are typing in notes? Because I'm not getting comments, updates.
this is I'm creating these individual tasks basically. I've sent you on the link.
Okay, 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 okay.
Hang on here.
Yeah.
It is. That's better, no? Because commenting is fine, but like this title-based thing is also there. I mean, this is how we
Yes.
can collaborate for now. Because I mean, if you have some issues and tasks, you can open up them like series of issues for me also.
Yes,
Like this,
yes.
that way, I will be prepared for the next meeting also. No, like for the next Friday, or and then like so then you can leave remarks and notes there, this and that.
Yeah.
And hang on. So let's go back. So yeah, like these are the things, and then I think rest of the method. So methodology needs to be a little bit more like researched. So I think I'll put this idea there. Methodology be well thought and surveyed. Like if so, the survey is required essentially, like how the method, like how and what we're going to kind of like do, like so for around that we need to be researching a bit and surveying like the documents from the past. So for an example, I can like I can put you specifically in this methodology part. I can create this more detailed. So what I can do is ideas around the science of why and like how people in the past have been collaborating essentially, right? And working together. And around that, we can put the thesis, right? Or method. And once, like, so one part is historical, one part is like previous method, and our method. So, like, as you can see that we've defined some of the methods, but these and some references that you can figure out. I can give you this reference, which is this. Okay, you can find this book also. I mean, you don't have to read this book, but like find a short survey of this book already. This is something that I have added here in this issue. So what happens with this is that we should be able to put the like all of these terminologies and like ideas here. And once that is done, then we can track them down into these actionable bullet points. That this is now we can create around this also. So we can like let's say these open bullet points that we have, we can enhance them and work around them. Like for example, define insightful. You know, so rather than just simply saying that it's an insightful, or this is scientifically defining the idea that what, like, or maybe whatever, right? You can, if it's not definable, then I think we should leave it. There is no point putting all of these ideas. Open communication, we need to define, like, one example how, like, so just one example is that why, like in any collaborative work, when we consider what is open communication, what does it
Yeah.
actually mean, like technically, non-technically, how do people work together, what does it actually mean of insightful communication, what does it actually mean of moderation, peaceful, this and that. So this is the idea. And then this is the there is a diagram that has been done. So this was done by the this guy who worked with us. So every project will consist of a collaborative unit, CJ, right? So he did it in a more of
Mm-hmm.
a mathematical manner, where the J is the number of
Yes.
participants committed to the project. So inside a collaborative unit, it is important for the participants to be attuned. So these words needs to be, properly changed. What does attuning, mean? So this comment I'm adding there,
Yeah.
and like I think, like define the rephrasing. Basically, we call it rephrasing, rephrasing the work of the existing model that we have proposed. Do you think you'd be able to rephrase all of this?
Yeah.
Perfect. And so yeah, so this you can see, and can you summarize all of this? Like I think this needs to be summarized. There's already some sort of a work that has been done, and that has been like the network has been created. Okay, so this domain spaces, I think you're very well versed of it, right? Like what these domain
Yeah.
spaces are. So yeah, like I'll add one more. Put extensive and authoritative sort of uh, literature. Rather than like this, we need to put these examples, some examples.
Yeah.
So like authoritative, like real world examples. So some things can be mapped out essentially. Okay, so that's the idea. This is what we can sort of put forward,
Yeah.
as this document. And now moving on to the another document. Like I think, are we clear with this document? What do you think?
Yeah. So I should rephrase it like entirely as a separate document, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It needs to
Whatever
be
existing, yes, whatever existing content is, that should be rephrased and taken as a separate task.
right.
Okay.
Like I've
Okay.
given you this like task list that needs to be rephrased essentially out of this. So you can
Okay.
use some content to rephrase it all in your own language. That would be your first
Okay.
important sort of understanding.
Okay.
Now, the research working on the international law, that is something
Mm-hmm.
that you've already started doing this, right? So,
Yeah.
like, let's first, like, you can finish this, and then we can move on to this part, the building up from the ground. What do you think?
Yes. Yes.
Because then you'll be able to build some but yeah, you can keep switching into that document also, but like I would want you to first finish that, and then like jump into this quickly, and then like put whatever work you've done so far is there, and then you can like start with this. Because so the idea of ground law is something like we're talking about that how the international organizations, the way that the system, the collab, so we're basically taking the work from there and saying that this collaborative work needs to happen in this organization. They need to work together, they need to coordinate rather than in isolation. They're like this, that, yeah, right? So, and how? So we give them propositions that one approach is by introducing a common currency, one approach is by creating a technology setup. One important idea is to, training human resources also. It's important, like to, for an example, training is like giving them the approach of like why is it important to have non-intermediary sort of setup, like where people are aware of that, okay, this is a problem, this is an ecological problem, and they should be focusing on solving rather than like solutionism. So these kind of things, right, like which can be put forward into that document essentially.
Yeah.
So, would you mind, like, so what you could do is, I think I haven't added you on the you know, like I haven't added you on this meeting note. So would you mind putting your meeting notes here? And what's your email? Are you using the email from the Mullers?
No, I have not yet received.
Can you use that?
No, I have not yet received any credentials.
Okay, no problem. But anyway, I'll just share it with you on your normal email. So
Mm-hmm.
hang on. So this is like a place where we put all of these things together. So I've sent you the invite. You can put the meeting sync like research meeting. So basically, like you can just put the document that we've discussed, and I've added you. And what are the topics and links and references that we've discussed here? Okay, this part. Copy. Okay, this part. Okay, so I think this would be enough for you to. Like, I think this would be enough for this document. Now, moving on to the another document, which is the international, like this idea, right? So
Yeah.
you've started
Mm-hmm.
with this, and we can demonstrate the examples, as you said, and we can talk about the problem. So problem needs to be a little bit scientific. They cannot be like something, right? Like because if you have some problem, right? Because if you have a problem, right, and these problems are specifically put, like they're basically saying one thing in common. If you look at it, which is that the coordination issue, and it's like you're saying that hey, the world needs to be like shocked, and yeah, like so, like or not shocked, but like go into some kind of an mode where they're aware, like okay, this
Yeah.
is going on. So that sort of awareness can happen through different points and different ideas, right? And
Yeah.
so ground law, the idea of the document is to provide that essence, in a very lay language. So this involves research into DAO. This involves research into cryptocurrencies. This involves a little bit of, because that is where we can focus. We can build the solution. Our solution, basically, we can build more around that. That there is an approach. For an example, how do you do the wealth transfer? Because this problem is just not one. There are multiple parts of it. One problem is that the transfer of the wealth. How do you do that? Appropriate problem. So appropriation. So there's a mathematics also in it. I think you've heard of this knapsack problem. So in
Knapsack.
Yeah, so take a look, knapsack. So basically, yeah, knapsack problem is something like you have a bag, and how
Mm-hmm.
many things you can put in that bag that will be utilized for the group. So there are 7 people in that group. So what is the appropriate resource that can be put into that bag? And that bag is a small bag, right? Like it's not like a big infinite bag because we are living on this planet. So it basically determines the resource allocation, that how do you like in a definitive way, how do you do the resource allocation? And then you have issues like identity membership. Like how do
Mm-hmm.
you identify who is the right person? Tomorrow, like somebody comes and claim that, hey, I'm a member of this group. Like give me all of the resources. So you have to study in those lines essentially, right? And then not keeping it only central around, I mean, we don't want to like keep it more around the idea of just one solution. So because this is a multi-part problem that we are dealing with when you talk about ground law, and like set something that is established, something that needs establishing from the, like from the scratch. So it's more treating it more like a then we go into the rule ideas, that hey, how rules have sort of created a big issue, because you have thousands of rules, and these rules
Yeah.
are different in different economics and different choice national choices. what happens with
Your voice is breaking.
Yeah, there's an issue with the internet, I think. Is it okay now?
Yeah, now it's clear. Yeah. Can you just repeat last three, four sentences?
Yeah, so like the idea that which I was talking about is that having this understanding of like introducing the understanding of like how rules can be an issue, right? So from the heuristics perspective, like that how rules are very definitive and they do not represent the real world essentially, because real world is far more complex, right? So
Yeah.
and like to be able to deal with complexity, you cannot build up another complex problem, a solution around it that introduce another complexity. So we're sort of like stuck into some kind of a complexity paradox, that keeps entangling further and further.
Increasing. Yeah.
So those kind of things needs to be addressed in such a manner. Okay, so you have to start building your thought process in that area, that this is like the approach here, and not necessarily building like, I mean, this document is not necessarily to address all of this also, but we can definitely
Yeah.
talk about them. Then we can create more documents, subsets of documents, like specifically on climate change, specifically on this particular domain space. So
Yes.
that's the one approach here. So that's all. Let's keep it like let's keep it like in this fashion for now. And if you have any suggestions, if you have any questions, you can ask me now.
No.
No.
Actually, yeah, I continuously, asking you whenever I have any questions.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Perfect. And one more thing is that if you can create like an open shared Google Drive for all the references, the work that you've been like doing, there is no need for you to upload the research paper. Actually, like I'll tell you this, like what you could do is just you could use there like a document that you can put like this is what you've used it like as a like a link or a reference rather than uploading them somewhere, right? And like let me know if you need some tools for like all of this research work, like for an example some subscriptions on a website or something like that, right? So that we
Okay.
can have like some data and availability of the data. Like for example, there are some journals that provide you access, but try to
Yeah.
find resources from libgen. If you know about this repository called
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah.
libgen is there, and
I
find.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, for the reference of Immanuel Kant, I actually went on LibGen and also on books because I thought it's a book, and I didn't get it there, and that's why I messaged you then. Yeah,
Okay.
I also use Sci-Hub. Yeah.
Yeah. So about the books, I don't know, like there are some interesting books that you might want to be like, along the way for long-term perspective. Like you can start reading them. Some good books that I can suggest you that I come across on a daily basis. So, like for example, this link that I've shared with you above, this GitHub link, Moloch Ventures, the white paper, and there's this transitioning into this link that I have created for you. Is there, so this is something like that you weekly sync. So this kind of papers and these kind of like articles, like there is this website that I kind of like use a lot, this one. So you can have an account there. I can share my account details because that requires a bit of, and they have interesting topics that you can kind of like specifically tech policy related documents, like what we are doing is in, so they have this authoritative journalism happening. So it's a US based, forum called MIT Technology Review. So you'll find all of these interesting data points there actually.
Okay.
Um, like on Indian landscape, there are only few, right? Like that you have, and most of the publications I think are foreign based. Like all these journals. So, but I use Medium also for like a lot of
Yeah.
like data, right? So you can also
Yeah, I also use Medium.
yeah. So if you want, you can have this paid account there, and you can like create an account that's it's like $5 a month or something, and you can like start using that. And that's the idea. I will create your foundation email ID like maybe like
Yeah.
today or something if you want,
Okay.
and then like when we can correspond from that. Okay.
Okay.
And that's the like, what do you think? So I think one more interesting thing which I would want you to do is that if you could keep sharing the documents that you might like wanna share, like as you were sharing, right, all of these things. So let's keep this kind of communication, between us, so that we can have this research oriented work done faster also.
Yeah.
So that's the approach. So anything else you want to talk about?
No, whenever you will share credentials with me, then I will just start working on these documents in the folder, creating folder in that Gmail account, and then we'll share it with you. I will start working there itself. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So all the track will be there, and we can dedicatedly put everything, all content for Sincere Foundation there itself.
Perfect. So and let's keep this work task list there, like on GitHub as of right now, because that will help us to have the public board. Notion we will use for like overviews, like broad overviews. Like, let's say we've
Mm-hmm.
created one big task, and then we can go to GitHub. But I would say if our work is not entirely on GitHub, it's fine. But as of right now, let's keep it there, because what I am looking at is this, like, for an example, if we start writing some research paper, like a big one, right, like a paper document, so we can keep it there in a repository and as a
Yeah.
repository. So something like that. So that's how I'm looking at it. And if there are issues that can be created around that. So that's something is a way of collaboration. So yeah.
Yes. Sure.
Perfect. So when was the time that you've joined, like we signed the contract, like around like what was the time?
I guess 1st November or 31st October.
Okay, okay, okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. So there's going to be more people joining in, and so we'll have to
Okay.
communicate with them also.
Sure.
So I might want to have a few calls this week coming with them. Okay.
Okay. No problem.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
your time. See you soon. I have to
Yeah.
see you. I have to see the work.
Yeah. 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 Sure.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Good day.